So we got to talk about the Shroud of Turin. The Shroud of Turin is this long piece of cloth that was found like several hundred years ago, way after the crucifixion of Jesus, and it shows the likeness of Christ. Here's a picture of the top portion. It's a 14-foot piece of cloth, and what they're trying to say is that when Jesus was taken down from the cloth and then he was laid in the tomb, the shroud that he was covered with, the 14-foot long piece of cloth, half of it's on the bottom and the other half is covering his face and the top part of his body. And we've got an impression. We got an impression. So I just want you to use some common sense, right? Eventually I'm going to show you this other sort of enhanced version. But you see, like, there's a face and some hair. And then you kind of see, like, the chest. And then you see his hands folded over. And then you see two legs. There's no genitalia. And then that's it. So we're supposed to believe that this image on a towel literally was the same shroud that was used when Jesus was crucified. There's no evidence of Jesus existing outside literary, just words. You have Josephus and Tacitus and some of those guys, the Gospel and Paul, but just words. All we have are people who have written like biographies. There's the Jesus family tomb, which I find actually more convincing than this crap. That's some archaeological evidence, but essentially what we know about Jesus, or what we think we know about Jesus, comes from what has been written down. So this is the shroud. This is the image. Now let's look at some of these enhanced images, right? Okay, definitely could see a face of like an older man, an older Caucasian man, right? I mean, this is what Jesus actually looked like back in the day, right? And so he's Middle Eastern. Let's see, let's take one more look at another picture. Let's take a look at this one, okay? So this is an enhanced version of the top portion, the portion that was laid on top of him. So maybe you don't see any genitalia because his hands are covering it up. His legs are in a cross. And then, I mean, after rigor mortis, they would have had to like put his arms down to his sides, right, in order to fold his hands like that. The three biggest arguments against this is carbon dating says this goes back to 1300s or some shit. So 13 centuries later. Carbon dating does not prove that this goes all the way back to, 0 BC, 33 AD. And then impressions. This isn't what Jesus would look like. It was some Medici. One of the Medici, but the impressions. I want to just spit this out. If you were just to take a towel and you rub like some paint on it, and then you just pressed it up against a person's face, you might get like some sort of image, but you wouldn't get a crystal clear image of their exact features, the shading and the light. From this image here, they're able to find out, from this image, they're like, well, this is what he looked like. Right there, that's the Jesus of Nazareth. We got the picture. We got the picture right there. We know exactly who he is and what he looks like. I mean, mystery solved. Mystery solved. But the mystery is not solved, because that is just a bunch of bullshit. The Shroud of Turin is bullshit. It doesn't depict a Middle Eastern person. You barely see any shadows whatsoever. Only when you enhance it do you get some sharper images. What this is it's an art mystery. An art mystery. Somebody painted this shroud and they said, oh, look, this is the image of Jesus. Mel Gibson believes that the Shroud of Turin is absolutely true, but Mel Gibson also believes that the resurrection is true. Yeah, right, okay, Mel Gibson. All right, Mel. So zombie Jesus walked the earth after he was dead for 3 days. After rigor mortis set in, after bacteria is devouring his skin and body, and after he's been brain dead for 3 days. So he's going to be slouching, and it's going to all that was just rejuvenated, right? Reanimated, rejuvenated. And then this is what the Middle Eastern Christ looks like Michael Landon's best friend on Little House on the Prairie. What was that guy's name? But you also have, wasn't it a Medici? The Medici likeness for Christ. Didn't they say that he was actually painted to be a specific Medici? I'm pretty sure that's the case. I forget which Medici, but it's all propaganda. It's all bullshit. Since it's all words, you can interpret all the words how you want to, and people see the God that they want to, and they see the man that they want to. You can just pick and choose whichever one of the words and make it all up. So I just wanted to put that out there. The Shroud of Turin is bullshit. The carbon dating says it came hundreds and hundreds of years later. The impression, you can't just lay a goddamn piece of cloth. I mean, every time you go to bed, right, you just take that sheet and you put it over you. Does your body have to decompose? And then when it decomposes, you have an exact imprint of your facial features and your hands and your body? No, it doesn't. It doesn't. And to think that they got this technology 2,000 years ago when can we even do anything like this today? Could you put some sort of towel over? I know you got like carbon paper. But even then, that's not like, with receipts, that's not a perfect copy of the top. So impressions can't do that. The carbon dating is all wrong. And that's not the image of what Christ would look like. In some respects, that kind of looks like a baboon. Don't that look like a baboon? So a couple smudges are put on this sheet. I think it's an art mystery. Somebody purposely maybe did this to make it look like Christ, or maybe they accidentally did it. And then, people are always seeing Christ in the clouds, Christ on toast. Oh, that looks like Christ. So the Shroud of Turin is 100% bullshit. And that's all I got to say about that.